silence there's release from a world filled with chaos and noise. I awake to these precious moments I hear all could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world filled with chaos and noise. I awake to these precious moments I hear all could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find God, I find God, I find myself.
And in that silence, let us take a moment to find that God. Find that God within, to embrace that universal spirit. And let us take a moment to set our intentions for today. Be it to bask in the ambiance of the presence of God, to heal, to restore wholeness. Let us recognize that spirit is that joy, and so therefore we must also be joy. And so it is.
So it is.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. We are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and, of course, all spiritual teachers. And now we begin our ceremony that celebrates this oneness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths come for the one universal presence that we call spirit. And we have our wonderful candlelighter this morning, which is one of my fellow practitioners, Bob.
Yay!
Thank you, Bob, for saying yes. I don't know that there's ever been a time that you have not said yes. So we thank you. And so let us begin. The Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. Shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of pristine spirituality. Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And of course, our last candle is the healing candle of love. We invite you in the stillness of your own mind to bring to awareness the names of anyone or anything of which you wish to be included in this flame of love and light. And now that our flames of faith are fully lit, we move forward into our celebration, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate you. All right, so feel free to join me from wherever you are in our purpose, vision, and mission statement. So our purpose, which is our reason for being. We awaken and inspire love and oneness. Yes, and our vision. So what do we want to create or become? We are an empowered, uplifting, inclusive community. You got that right. And our mission. How are we going to do this? We teach spiritual transformation with grace and joy. Yes, I got Judy here to help with that today too. How perfect. All right. And so today, as far as our sacred reading, it comes from Living the Science of Mind, so our very own Ernest Holmes. And I invite you to close your eyes and really feel this. Once we are sure that there is a goal to reach and that Spirit is directing us, we can be certain that we shall one day arrive. Perhaps today, perhaps tomorrow. But is not each step on the road one step closer to reaching our source? Let us all then accept the simple fact that the road to God is through the self, and that that pathway to an ever-increasing experience can be filled with joy. Above everything else, if we can trace our origin back to its original source, which is God, and do the same for everyone else, we shall find that we are getting along with others. If you want sunshine, step out into the sunshine. If you have ever locked yourself away into a dark place, why not come out into the light? If you have been feeling that everything is against you and no one really cares for you, know that God is in everyone, and meet the God in others and see what happens. Thank you. Say it again. Good morning. That was beautiful. Thank you. Well, of course, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living here in Anchorage, Alaska. If you are not awake on this beautiful day, it's okay, because you can catch this at a later time, and we're going to accept that. My name is Stevie Lanier, one of the many practitioners here at the center. And yes, it is that time for announcements, but before we jump into the business of things, let me remind you that we are here to pray, and we will always be here to pray. And I feel like I'm not the only person that's probably got a few things that could get prayed up. So let us be here for you. You can send an email. You can go straight to our website and click on that prayer link. You can call. There are so many ways to reach out for that support and allow us to say yes to you. So other than that, how you got me 2 weeks in a row up here, I'm not sure what you guys are doing out there, but it's working because I'm here. So I'm happy to be here on such a beautiful sunny day, and it's actually starting to get warmer too. So that being said, if you can carve out a little bit of time for us today, this is going to be really important. One announcement once again. So we have our annual business meeting, which is going to be taking place right after service. It is going to be via Zoom, so the link will be, I'm pretty sure, posted as we're streaming today from the Facebook page, so you can kind of directly bounce right over to the next platform. The key thing, if you don't decide that you want to stay for the 2 hours, no biggie. There's no pressure. But what we do need, as far as our ballots and our voting, because we've got those leadership spots that we are filling, we need everybody who can to join that link and drop their name so we can count and verify for the ballot. So again, you don't have to stay for the full thing, but what is important is for us to be able to mark your attendance for verification purposes, is that you sign in to that Zoom, drop your name in the comment that you were here, and that is how you can be of service to us today. So that's the main thing that we need. Other than that, we've got our lovely special music, and then followed by that, stepping out and stepping up will actually be Rev Dawn. So there we go.
Beautiful, Jessica. Thank you so much. Sometimes I like to start my talk with a story, and in the tradition of storytellers going back to antiquity, sometimes they preface their story with a kind of a disclaimer, and loosely translated what this disclaimer says is, we don't really know whether things happened exactly like this or not. But the facts are unimportant. What's important is the story. And so that's what I guard you with today. I'm not totally certain of the facts exactly, but what's important is the story. And the title of my story is Swept Away. April 18th, 2019, so that's 2 years and 1 week ago, a 17-year-old by the name of Tyler Smith, along with 7 of his friends, were participating in a tradition at their high school that they call Senior Sneak Day. And on Senior Sneak Day, the officials looked the other way and the seniors were allowed to ditch school for the day. They'd been looking forward to this all year, and they had all kinds of plans, and they had decided that they're going to the beach. So they arrived mid-morning at the beach. It was a beautiful, beautiful Florida day. It was just gorgeous. The high was predicted to be in the mid-80s, not a cloud in the sky. The ocean, as they looked out, was just glass and hardly anybody on the beach. They noted the red flags that were run up on the poles on the beach, and they knew what that meant, that there were dangerous currents. But they ignored it. They were young and bulletproof, and they also didn't plan to be in the water very much, so it really wasn't a big concern for them. So they had their beach chairs, and they had their barbecue and their sports equipment, the footballs and the frisbee, and they were all set to have this wonderful day at the beach. Well, a little after noon, it started getting pretty warm, and somebody got the idea, well, let's cool off in the ocean a little bit. So they went out, and all of them were playing in the ocean, and just in the middle of the bay, there was an island. And on this island was a lighthouse. And it was very, very close. It was just a really short swim. So some of them decided they were going to swim over to the lighthouse. And they got a little ways out, and a couple of them said, wait a minute, there's too much current here. We're going back. But a girl named Heather and our friend Tyler looked at each other and said, well, should we go? And he says, well, it's just such a short distance. We ought to be okay. And let's do it. They didn't want to look like they were chicken. So they took off and started swimming for the lighthouse. Well, the current caught them, and immediately they knew that this was a strong, strong current, but they felt that they could do it. They were the two strongest swimmers in their class. And they continued swimming, and they missed the lighthouse. They missed the island. And as the current carried them further and further out, Tyler started to get a little bit worried. He looked back, and the lighthouse was getting smaller, and the beach was just becoming a tan line on the horizon. Well, we back up a couple of days. 3 days earlier, there's a man by the name of Eric Wagner, and he had a new boat, or new to him. It was a 54-foot motor yacht, what they called it. It was a great boat, and he had bought it there in Florida, and he was taking it north for the summer. The marina where he was keeping it stored was closing for renovations and some capital improvement, so he had to get his boat out of there. Even though April wasn't the best time, he thought, well, it's an opportunity to take my boat north. So he and a couple friends went down and got on the boat, and the first thing they ran into was engine problems. It took them a day and a half to get those repaired, and then they took off, and they ran into high waves, and that was slowing them down, and the current was slowing them down. There were just so many things against them, fighting them all the way, that it was really frustrating. But he kept plowing on, and he got the bright idea that, if I go out a little ways, get a little further out, just a couple miles offshore, I'll be able to make better time. Now, he knew enough not to go all the way out into the Gulf Stream, which would really make him a lot faster, but there he knew that should the weather change, it would be too dangerous. So he took it easy, went a couple miles out, and continued to go north. Well, meanwhile, we have Tyler and Heather, and the lighthouse is now getting further and further away, and as the swells come in, sometimes they don't see the lighthouse, and then the lighthouse was gone. And then that thin tan line that was a beach, pretty soon it was gone too. And Tyler really started to worry, but he looked around and he saw a buoy, and it was there to mark a reef, to keep boats from running into this collection of rocks that were out there. I have in my mind Bly Reef out in Prince William Sound, to keep the big tankers from running into this reef. And he thought, well, if we can get over to that buoy, we can climb onto the buoy and we can wait for help. And so they took off and they started swimming as hard as they could toward that buoy. And it was well within reach, and they were going and they could make it, and that current was too strong, and the buoy passed them by. And they got further and further out, and he knew that they were in real trouble. And then he started to get cramps. and he knew this wasn't good. And then the buoy began to disappear in the swells, and then the buoy was gone. Meanwhile, Eric and his buddies were headed north in their 54-foot motor yacht 2 miles offshore. And they were having a good time. That beautiful Florida sun was out. The water was calm. They were cutting through. It was really great. They had the music turned up, talking to one another. They were just having a great time. But then one of them heard something. And even over the roar of the twin engines and the music blaring loud and everybody shouting to one another as they talked, he heard something. And so they quieted down, they turned off the music, and they listened. They didn't hear anything more. They started to look around. They got out the glasses and started to scan the horizon. And wait, look, there's 2 little black dots bobbing almost on the horizon. Well, meanwhile, Heather and Tyler were getting weaker and weaker. And then they heard a boat. And they thought, oh, this is going to be our last chance. Tyler was too weak to continue anything. So Heather said, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get their attention. And she jumped up and she waved and she shouted, help, help, help. Of course, they couldn't hear at that distance, but the boat went on by. But then Eric and his buddies had spotted them, and they realized they'd passed it. So they turned the boat around and they went back, and Heather was just filled with joy when she saw the boat turning and coming toward them. And they got up close to them and they cut the engines, and the swells started tossing the boat without any power behind it, and tables fell over and glass broke and everything else, but they were able to get out a life preserver, and to the couple, they were able to get Heather in first, and then they were able to get Tyler in, and they brought these 2 into their boat. They were able to get turned around. They got the glass covered with some towels so people didn't step on it, and they were able to get under power again and return to their mission of going north and at least getting out. Well, welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you for joining us today. What a gorgeous, beautiful day it is in South Central Alaska. We, like our subjects in our story this morning, are basking in sunshine. It's absolutely gorgeous. So thank you for joining us. We absolutely know that the greatest gift we can give one another is our time. And for you to share your time with me and with us today is indeed an honor. So thank you. I have 3 major points. First, I'm going to talk about oneness. Then I'm going to talk about living life fully. And then finally, I'm going to talk about a roadmap. First of all, oneness. When we can realize that we are part of something larger than ourselves, and that something is working and pulling for us, then life's problems become a little bit more manageable. A lady by the name of Anita Winkleman in Tucson, Arizona, tells a story about when she was going to visit her mother. She was driving down the highway and she saw a road that went off, and she knew that their friend Anna Jean lived down that road. And she thought more and more about Anna Jean as she was driving. And when she arrived at her mother's house, she said, "God, I was coming here and we went down the road that leads to Anna Jean's place, and it just was, the urge was so strong to stop in and say something and do something." And her mom very wisely said, "When you get those kinds of urges and those things, I think it's usually wise to follow them. Let's do something." So she said, "There's a cute little flower shop would be right on the way. Let's go get Anna Jean a bouquet. So they stopped at the flower shop. They bought this bouquet. It's a beautiful bouquet of flowers. And they went up to Anna Jean's Road, and they went down Anna Jean's Road, and they went to her house. They knocked on the door. She answered the door, and she was so happy to see her friend. Well, on the way there, Mom had told Anita that Anna Jean had lost her husband a few months earlier, and that this would really be a kind gesture to help her during that time, maybe bring a little joy to her life. So that's exactly what they did. They brought this bouquet of flowers, and they said, we just wanted to stop by and do something maybe that'll cheer you up today. And with that, Anna Jean broke down in tears. How could you have possibly known? Known what? Well, today would have been our 36th wedding anniversary. And always on our anniversary, my husband would come and do something special for us. He would do something that would let me know how much he loved me. And I had given up hope that that would ever happen today. I didn't think that was even possible. And yet, here you are on my doorstep with the most beautiful bouquet of my favorite flowers. When we realize that we are part of something that is so much larger than we are, we can listen to that still small voice. We can respond to those urges, and we can fill that void for someone else. Thich Nhat Hanh said, enlightenment for a wave in the ocean is the moment that the wave realizes it is water. When we realize that we are not separate, but we are a part of the huge ocean of everything, we become enlightened. We realize this through practice, and we remain awake and aware of this through more practice. As we step out of our comfort zone and step into our spiritual awakening, it is good to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. Even when we're motoring up the Atlantic coast, returning our boat to its summer destination. It's a quote from Eric. With the boat smoothly cutting through the water once more, it hit me. All of those delays that I had resented so much, having to stop and get the engine repaired, the bad weather, all of those delays, they weren't taking us off track. They were course corrections, bringing us closer to Heather and Tyler. There is a power in the universe, and it is for us if we will only allow it to be. Ernest Holmes said, the greatest gift life could have made to you is yourself. You are a spontaneous, self-choosing center in the great drama of being, the great joy of becoming, the certainty of eternal expansion. Marianne Williamson, perhaps one of her most famous, if her not the single most remembered quotation from Marianne Williamson, also quoted by Nelson Mandela. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. So point number 2, living life fully. As we walk this journey of life, we step out into the unknown. What will we bring with us? What are we willing to leave behind? We have been cast to play this part since our first breath. Our soul is continually called to us, be brave. Step up regardless of what others say or think. This is your time. Ask yourself, if I was living my life fully, what would I be doing? Ask yourself, if I were to be living my life fully, what would I be doing? And then go do it. Back to Marianne Williamson. Each of us has a unique part to play in the healing of the world. Brene Brown. Daring greatly means the courage to be vulnerable. It means to show up and be seen, to ask for what you need, to talk about how you are feeling, to have the hard conversations. I'm going to go off topic here a little bit, interrupt the talk. I have been thinking, I really enjoyed Daring Greatly by Brene Brown, and I was thinking of maybe later on in the summer, July, August, having a short book study on Daring Greatly. If you would be interested in that, would you send me an email? You can either send an email to the office through our website, csl-alaska.org, or you can send it to me personally, AKREVDON, Alaska Rev Don, @gmail.com. And let me know if you'd be interested, and maybe we can put together a short 3-4 week book study on Daring Greatly. Back to the talk. You can't make decisions based on fear and the possibility of what might happen. That was Michelle Obama. A lady by the name of Mandy De Leon was teaching salsa dancing, and her boss, the business was growing, the dance studio that she was employed at was growing, things were going really well, and she knew that her boss was kind of looking for somebody to take on more responsibility, and she thought that she'd be perfect for it. And sure enough, one day the boss had to be out of town doing something, and she asked her to collect all the funds and everything for this salsa class that she was teaching. And so she was a very detailed person, very meticulous. We've got several people like that in our congregation. And so the day came and she collected the money. She did everything she was supposed to do. And the boss's son was going to come by that night and pick up the registration forms and the class fees. And she was all ready for it. And she thought, well, I'll just have everything ready on the counter when he gets here. And so she went to get it. And the blue folder that she had, that she kept everything in, was gone. It wasn't where she put it. And she started to panic. Oh my God, what? And we were racing and said, here's my great chance. And I'm blown it. And oh, she was just so distraught. Okay, take a deep breath. Where did you last have it? When do you remember seeing it? It always pointed to this, where it was supposed to be. So I'm going to just go for a slight walk. I'm going to go outside, deep breath. And she got this urge to look in her recycle bin. She hadn't even been near her recycle bin. Urge, look in the recycle bin. That's crazy. Urge, look in the recycle bin. So she went back, went into her garage, tipped over a recycle bin, started digging through a recycle bin, and bang, blue folder with everything in it. You see, there is a power in the universe, a powerful force in the universe, and it's for us if we will only listen to it. Ernest Holmes wrote, "We must climb over the rocks of unbelief, pass around the barriers of doubt, and plunge into the stream with faith." Can live our lives in that faith. My third point, science of mind is a roadmap to our desires. What we teach in this center, not only on Sunday mornings, but also in the classes that we teach, the book studies, all of the other activities that we do, we advance this idea and the principles that allow us to live lives that are more fulfilling, that mean more. We're able to sidestep some of the the struggles in life. We're able to see beyond the behaviors of other people and see the divine in them. And sometimes we're even given the opportunity, wow, what is that reflection in me that I see in someone else? What a gift it has. And this teaching that we call the science of mind is a perfect roadmap to living that more fulfilling life. Ernest Holmes, in Can We Talk to God? We seek to make our dreams come true, and unless our dreams are subjective hallucinations, they will become actual experiences if we demonstrate our principle. True ideas pass through to accomplishment. That's a 1920s way of what Tom Dooley says, thoughts become things. If you approach it, meaning the science of mind, with understanding, above all, you must approach it with a definite intention in mind of making conscious use of its principle. You must come to realize that mind exists as principle in the universe, just as electricity exists as a principle. Just because Moses was unaware of electricity when he led the Hebrews out of Egypt doesn't mean that electricity wasn't always there. It's the same thing with the law of mind. Just because we're unaware of it in any given moment doesn't mean that it's not operational. Once you understand this, it will not be difficult to see that thought is the tool of mind, nor will it be difficult to see that physical objects are fundamentally spiritual in nature and that an objective fact is but a symbol of a subjective or an invisible cause. It certainly follows that if you are to make practical use of the science of mind, you must be able to convert things into thoughts, and by changing the stream of consciousness, produce a corresponding change in any objective situation. Whether this be used for helping those who are sick or to meet any other needs. In other words, change your thinking, change your life. Sounds simple. Sounds easy. Not always that easy. So what I would like to leave you with today, the one little package I want you to go away with today. Nothing sounds easier than to change your thinking, change your life. And nothing can be more frightening. In the science of mind teaching, we don't deny that a condition exists. We deny that it has to continue. And yet we can stay comfortable in our discontent rather than risk stepping out and being that which we are called here to be. Each of us has a unique purpose that no other person on the planet can fulfill. And if we choose to ignore our purpose, to live small, not only are we missing out, so is the world. So I invite you to step into that. Be brave. And with that, I invite my colleagues, the practitioners, both licensed and unlicensed, to join me in holding our congregation in love and light. Simply recognizing that there is indeed a power in the universe, one magnificent power, infinite intelligence. And that infinite power is continually and forever expressing itself through and as each and every one of us. We are all children of the Most High. We are all perfect exactly as we are supposed to be in this and in every moment. We just simply recognize as we ping-pong through this thing called life, that presence is always with us. And the nature of that presence is one of joy. It is one of love. It is one of peace and harmony. And so we are imbued deep within us, each and every one of us, with peace and love and joy and harmony. So for those of you who are experiencing health challenges, we just simply know that beyond this appearance of disease, that you are a perfect child of God, exactly as you are. And for those that are experiencing lack and limitation, fear of not enoughness, we just simply know that we live in a vast and infinite universe that is ours for the asking. We speak my word now for those who are feeling separate, for those who are feeling away from God, away from Spirit, away from one another. We just simply know that that infinite Spirit is continually and forever expressing itself as everyone. So all of the people that we have interactions with every single day are those magnificent godlings. These are all expressions of God. And the nature of God is love, and it is our nature to love everyone and to be loved by everyone. And so we just give thanks. We give our thanks for our awareness of this power, of this infinite intelligence. And we can just step back and let it go and let it be. And so it is. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Thank you, ladies. Step outside and step within. This is the time in the service where we are afforded the opportunity to participate in another one of our spiritual practices, that being the practice of circulation. Just to acknowledge some of the people that we see in the Facebook chat room today. We've got Joan, Ann Lazenby, Judith Mack, Tiffany, Marion, Don Naff, Kaleem, Reverend Linda, Robert, Luann, Angela, Trevor and Midnight, Linda and Midnight and Trevor. Let's get this down. Patty McCrary and Tammy Carmack. So yeah, we've got from Homer to Fairbanks. So thank you all for joining us today. I had my really, really good story for now, the feel-good story, but we don't have time, so I'll have to save it for next week. If you'll join me in our affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is. Oh, here comes the basket. Well, I'm going to have to take all these out. I'm starting to get a collection in there. What do we have today? Better get out of. I am infinite, and so it is.
And so it is.
So when life takes us past that lighthouse, beyond the buoy, let's take a step back and ask ourselves, where is the current currently taking us? What urges are you being compelled to follow? Allow us to step out of our comfort zone and step into our spiritual awakening, recognizing that those perceived delays are actually divine placemakers. As we release our judgment and embrace the unknown, we can climb past the rocks of unbelief and onto the shores of faith. And so it is. Our affirmation for today.
Erin was so excited. So excited.
I love that. All right. I step out and I step up.
I step out and I step up.
I live freely and fully.
I live freely and fully.
Fully present.
Fully present.
Fully aware.
Fully aware.
And fully engaged.
And fully engaged.
And so it is.
And so it is.